Hello, I, Dr. Kavita Singh, Associate Professor of Law, working in WBNUJS Kolkata, have a teaching experience of more than 15 years, is presenting before you all today the module under Socioeconomic Offences titled Racketeering in False Travel Document. Racket means an organized illegal activity such as extortion or bootlegging with a view to making disproportionately high profits. Racketeer is a person engaged in illegal enterprise for profit. To racketeer means to operate a racket. Racketeering means running a racket. Essentially, it involves illegally obtaining or extorting money, example protection, racket carrying on illegal business activities, example gambling, racket, prostitution racket, etc. The nature and the scale of such operation require sizable organization which is usually available only to the underworld. Thus, the indicates a business venture managed by those indulging in a pattern of illegal activity which forms an integral component of such a venture. The latter derives from the Federal Racketeer Influenced and Corruption Organizations Act (RICO), a set of laws in 1970 specifically designed to punish racketeering by business enterprise. The overall perception is that racketeering and business invariably go together and that organized crime is inseparably linked with racketeering. To talk about the learning objectives of this module, it is to explain the learner the concept of racketeering and importance of travel document. To impart to the learner knowledge of various legal provisions concerning issuance and use of travel document in India and US, to acquaint the learner with the process relating to falsification of travel documents in India and US. The learner would understand the close link between the false travel document vis-a-vis organized crime, human smuggling and terrorism. Definition and classification of document. This subchapter is intended to define racketeering, travel documents and their classification. Coming to the definition of travel document and classification are aimed at the making the learner understand the meaning and types of travel documents which can be falsified. Racketeering is defined as a pattern of illegal activity carried out as a part of an enterprise that is owned or controlled by those who are engaged in illegal activity. Definition of travel document. A travel document is an identity document issued by a government or international treaty organization to facilitate the movement of individuals or small groups of persons across international boundaries. A passport, the proof of the nationality and citizenship, serves as a travel document. However, the term sometimes allude to an identity proving document which does not serve as a proof of citizenship. Re-entry permit, refugee travel document come under this category. Types and classification of travel documents. When we come to the types of travel document used globally, passport is the first type of document, then the laissez-passer and emergency passport, UN travel document, refugee travel documents, formerly 1951 Convention on Travel Documents. In 1954 Convention of Travel Document, alien passports and certificates of identity, visa, passport in general is a passport, is a travel document that also serves as proof of nationality from the issuing country, although generally accepted by the majority of the countries in world. Some issuing countries expressly excluded the validity of passport from nations that are not recognized by their government. Laissez-passer and emergency passport from the French let pass is a travel document issued by the national government or certain international organizations such as the United Nations, European Union and International Committee of Red Cross. Laissez-passer is often for one-way travel to the issuing country for humanitarian reasons, only such as a restoring family links. Some national government issue this to their own nationals as emergency passport. Another issue comes to the people who are stateless or who are unable to obtain passport from their own government or whose government is not recognized by the issuing country. Example, a special pass issued for travel in Boulogne by British Red Cross during World War I. UN travel document is UN and the International Labour Organization issue this passport to officials and members of UN and other specialized agency as well as to several international organizations. This is also issued to their families for official use. It is similar to the passport and is generally recognized worldwide, although some countries have not accepted document as sufficient to gain entry. It does not generally confer diplomatic immunity, but may confer limited immunity and privileges. Aliens and refugees. For aliens and refugee travel document, formerly 1951 convention travel document, are passports like booklets issued by national governments to refugees under the 1951 convention relating to the status of the refugee. This convention on travel document are similar to documents issued to the stateless persons under the 1954 convention relating to the status of stateless person issued to a person in circumstances of any difficulties in gaining a travel document from country of birth. The cover bears the word travel document in English and French and often in language of the issuing state along with the date of the convention, but does not bear the two black strips appearing in the upper right corner of the front cover of refugee travel documents. Coming to Indian legislation on false travel document, the first law relating to that is Passport Act 1967. It is an act to provide for the issue of passports and travel document to regulate the departure from India of citizens of India and for persons for matter incidental or ancillary thereto. It extends to the whole of India and applies also to citizens of India who are outside India. Section 2 of this act talks about definition. First comes passport. It means a passport issued or deemed to have been issued under this act. Section 2E talks about travel document, means a travel document issued or deemed to have been issued under this act. Section 4 of the act, classes of passport and travel document. Firstly, the classes of passport may be issued under this act in namely ordinary passport. Ordinary passport is to be issued to the citizen of India, referred schedule 2 part 1 of the passport rules 1980. Secondly, official passport. Official passport is issued to government officials and their families travelling at government expenses, reference to schedule 2 part 1 of the passport rules 1980. Thirdly, diplomatic passport. Diplomatic passport is issued to the officers of Indian Foreign Service, other officers of Ministry of External Affairs or other ministries or department of the government of India availing abroad on official business, family, official hostesses or husband and as the case may be, dependent son, etc. Travelling with them a person having been granted a diplomatic status. Reference to the Schedule 2 Part 1 of the Passport Rules 1980. Secondly, the following class of the travel document may be issued under this Act. They are: firstly, emergency certificate authorizing a person to enter India, certificate of identity for a purpose of establishing the identity of the person, such other certificate or document as may be prescribed. The central government shall, in consonance with the uses and practice followed by this behalf, prescribe the classes of persons or whom the classes of passport and travel document referred to respectively. In subsection 1 subsection 2, the passport may be issued under this particular Act. Section 12, Offences and Penalties. Section 12 of the Passport Act 1967 defines various offences and provides penalties for the offences, including number 1, contravention of section 3 and of the Passport Act, knowingly furnishing a false information or suppressing any material information with a view to obtaining passport or travel document under this Act or without lawful authority, altering or attempting to alter or causing to alter the entities made in the passport or travel document. Thirdly, failure to produce for inspection passport or travel document, whether issued under this Act or not, when called upon to do so by the prescribed authority. Fourthly, knowingly using a passport or a travel document issued to another person. Fifthly, knowingly allowing another person to use a passport or travel document issued to him. Penalty for the above offence is imprisonment for a term which may extend to 2 years or fine which may extend to 5,000 rupees or with both. Section 12 1 capital A provides for penalties for the following offences committed by the non-citizen of India: making an application for a passport or obtaining a passport by suppressing information about nationality, holding a forged passport or a travel document. Penalty is imprisonment for a term which may shall not be less than 1 year, but may extend to 5 years, and fine which shall not be less than 10,000 rupees, but which may extend to 50,000 rupees or both. Section 12(2) lays down penalties for abatement of above offence, relating the relevant punishment for corresponding offences. Subclause 3 provides for penalty for those contraventions for which specific penalty has not been prescribed elsewhere in the Act. The penalty is imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 months or fine which may extend to 500 rupees or both. Clause 4 provides that if a person with a prior conviction under this Act is subsequently convicted for any offence under this Act, then penalty imposed will be double the one provided for the latter offence. Coming to section 20, issue of passports and travel document to persons who are not citizen of India. Section 20 of the Passport Act empowers the central government to issue a passport to a non-citizen of India if, according to central government, it is necessary to do so in the public interest. The Indian Penal Code, Chapter 18 of the Indian Penal Code deals with offences relating to document and property marks. Section 463 defines term forgery. Section 464 deals with making false document. Section 465 provides punishment for forgery. Section 468 relates to forgery for purpose of cheating. Section 470 deals with forged document. Section 471 using a genuine forged document, and section 470 forged documents or electronic record. Section 471 using as a genuine forged document or electronic record, 472 making possessing counterfeit seal etc. with intent to commit forgery, punishable under section 467. Section 473 making or possessing counterfeit seals etc. with intent to commit forgery. Section 474 having possession of document described in section 466 or 467, knowing it to be forged and intending to use it as genuine. Section 475 counterfeiting device or mark used for authenticating document described in section 467 or possessing counterfeit marks material. Section 476 counterfeiting device or mark used for authenticating document other than those described in section 467 or possessing counterfeit marked materials. Law in USA on false travel document. Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, a set of law. Congress passed RICO as a part of the Organized Crime Control Act 1970. The specific goal of RICO is to punish the use of an enterprise to engage in certain criminal activities. A person who uses an enterprise to engage in pattern of racketeering may be convicted under the RICO criminal statute. An enterprise is defined as an individual, partnership, corporation, association or other legal entity and any union or group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity. A pattern is defined as at least 2 acts of racketeering activity, one of which occurred after the effective date of RICO's passage and last of which occurred within 10 years after commission of the prior act of racketeering activity. RICO outlaws every manner in which an enterprise can be used for long-term racketeering activity. Criminal offences included under racketeering activities are: criminal offence include fraud relating to identification of documents, fraud relating to access devices, transmission of gambling information, mail frauds, wire frauds, financial institutional frauds, citizen or naturalization fraud etc. Criminal sanction. Coming to criminal sanction, the punishment for violating criminal provision of RICO is exceptionally severe. If convicted, a defendant is fined and sentenced not more than 20 years in prison for each RICO violation. Furthermore, the defendant must forfeit any interest claim against or property or contractual right over the criminal enterprise as well as any property that constitutes the racketeering activity or that was derived from the racketeering activity. Coming to identity theft. Identity theft and resulting criminal activity when crime are carried out using a false or a stolen identity, investigation of the offence becomes much more complicated. The use of a false or a stolen identity enhances the chances of success in commission of almost all financial crimes. The identity provides cloak for anonymity for the subject while the groundwork is laid down or carried out by the crime. This includes the rental of mail drops, post office boxes, apartments, office spaces, vehicles and storage lockers as well as the activation of pagers, cellular telephones and various utility services. Identity theft and the use of false identities is now not a new law enforcement. For decades, fugitives have changed their identity to avoid capture and check forgery, have to be assumed that the identity of the others to negotiate stolen or counterfeit checks. What is new today is perseverance of the problem, link with the terrorism and its funding. Today the threat is made more grave by the fact that the terrorist can utilize identity theft as well as social security number fraud to enable them to obtain such things as covered employment and access to secure locations. These and the similar means can be utilized by terrorists to obtain driver's license and bank or credit card frauds through which terrorism financing is facilitated. Terrorists and terrorist groups require funding to perpetrate their terrorist agendas, and use financial terrorism ranges from a highly sophisticated to the most basic. There is virtually no financing method that has not at some level been exploited by these groups. Identity theft is a key catalyst fueling many of these methods. FBI initiatives to tackle fraud schemes. The FBI has implemented a number of initiatives to address the various fraud schemes being utilized by terrorists to fund their terrorist activities. One involves targeting fraud schemes being committed by the loosely organized groups to conduct criminal activity with a nexus to terrorist financing. It is believed that targeting this type of activity and pursuing the links to terrorist financing will likely result in the identification and dismantlement of previously known terrorist cell. Another initiative has been the development of a multi-phased project that seeks to identify potential terrorist related individuals, those social security numbers misuse analysis. Interpol and European Union and the refugee influx from Middle East and North Africa, the number of people trying to illegally cross European borders increased 48% to 1,07,365 in 2013 over 2012 amidst rising concern over those trying to enter the bloc with false or stolen identity document, according to the European Border Agency Frontex. As per the agency, there has been a consistent increase in the abuse of genuine documents. People either use someone else document to enter. European Union countries, by acting as a look-alike or impose or by obtaining a genuine document by issuing a fraudulent application. Fake passport racket in Thailand is something of a paradise for criminal networks, and individuals selling and buying passports is common. It is a popular tourist destination, busting around the year with people of various nationalities, providing ample opportunity for stealing or buying a passport from a variety. The countries such as Thailand, it's relative easy for the criminal organization trying to buy passports from party goers who have run out of money and are in need of some quick cash. Tourists can then easily get a new passport and resume their travel after filling in quick one-page lost passport report, which the person then takes to their embassy. There is a link with human trafficking and migrant smuggling. False passports are a small part of a bigger machinery that also includes a lot of illegal activity: human trafficking, drug trafficking, migrant smuggling, money laundering and terrorism. In order to assume a false identity to engage in a criminal act across national borders, a false document is needed. Professional criminals have not only false passports, but also supporting documents. Documentation may be a credit card, may be a driving license, etc. Falsification of document by the four most commonly used method across countries appear to be the use of another person's passport falsified by an exchange of photograph. This can be done by removing the protective film from the page containing personal information, replacing the photo and sticking the transparent film back in the place. Other typical way of falsifying passport are correcting the expiry dates, forging visa stamps or chemically removing border crossing stamps. Besides documents with replaced photographs, these documents appear as complete. Forgeries, documents with erased or altered text, with replaced or torn out pages as documents of another person or a stolen document. Recent advances in the technology vis-a-vis false travel document smuggling agents obtain information technology as well as the other equipment necessary to produce the best possible counterfeit passports. Forgers continuously update their equipment for forging passports and visas and other documents of different countries. Modern computer technology is used to improve the quality of document falsification. In the Ahmad Rassam case, when Ahmad Rassam was caught at the Canadian-US border, he was using a false Canadian passport with the alias Benny Norris. He was carrying fake identification with another alias, and investigators soon discovered he had entered Canada using yet another fake passport from France. He has also manipulated Canada's asylum system by applying for political asylum at the border, knowing that the Canadian authorities would refer his case to another agency and let him stay in Canada while he waited for his asylum hearing. At his trial, he testified inter alia as to his use of fake passports and how his terrorist network relied on them. He stated that he had entered Canada using fake French passport and landed at Montreal airport, where he was stopped by the immigration officials. He made up a story to request political asylum. After being kept at their center, he was allowed to go. He lived in Montreal for 4 years, living off state welfare and stealing the tourist bags. He sold the stolen passports. He further stated that Abu Zubaydah, a lieutenant of Osama bin Laden, had asked him to provide original Canadian passport for some people for carrying out operations in US. Coming to preventive and remedial measures, post September 11, 2001 terrorist attack on Twin Towers of World Trade Center in New York, the government of US and Canada have put in place stricter border controls at the US-Canadian border. To screen the persons crossing the border, Canada has invested millions of dollars to bolster inland security and provide additional manpower at border. It has thoroughly overhauled its process of granting asylum and is carrying out extensive background checks on the asylum seekers. It has also compiled a centralized database in order to track the suspect. According to some US official, the US Immigration and Naturalization Service must be revamped. A new organizational structure and management system needs to be in place in order to effectively meet the new challenges, which are faced instantly. The US Congress considered various measures, and they included in it a denial of entry to anyone who has supported or been a member of a terrorist organization, a system for sharing information between the INS and the Department of Justice and State who manages international watch list, a computerized system to keep track of student visa holders, an entry-exit tracking system to allow INS to track exit states for visa holders. Additionally, support for State Department of officials abroad to allow for background checks for visa applicants. Numerous free trade organizations, immigrants, support groups, universities and privacy advocates, after initially strongly opposing these measures, have mostly relied around them in the face of mounting threat of terrorism. To conclude, it will be observed from the foregoing that racketeering is an illegal business activity run by organized crime to make enormous profits. Racketeering in false travel document is a multi-million-dollar business, particularly lucrative as there is perpetual demand which far outstrips the supply. It is invariably linked with irregular migration, human smuggling and human trafficking. We have seen types of travel document, their classifications and the laws governing their issuance. A passport, beside being travel document, is a proof of citizenship. We have gone through the modus operandi of the frauders to falsify the false travel document and their intricacies linked with the illegal migration, human smuggling and trafficking, link with the act of terrorism. The racketeering network flourishes owing to the unending demand for fake or falsified travel documents from persons originating from the Middle East, North Africa and South Asia. As can be seen from the Rassam's case, countries like Canada had lax rules which have been hitherto made stringent for granting asylum to refugees and illegal immigrants. Faced with ever spreading spectra of terrorism, the Interpol and the FBI and for Frontex, European Agency for Border Control, have devised new technological initiatives to establish the genuineness of a travel document. To carry out extensive background check on the entrant as well as the applicant for entry and stay in the transit and destination country, besides tracking the visa holders from their entry to their exit. At the end, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Sashikala Gurpure for contributing this module. Thank you.